Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. It's the weekend obviously now, so that we're going to talk about two things really. One is going to be on the USBTC and HUT8 merger of equals. Some of you guys have asked me to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive into it, look at the numbers associated with that merger. So we're going to go through all of that information there. We're not going to go through too deep into it, but we're just going to look at some of the numbers that we do have, some of the sites, things like that, wattage and everything else. And then we're also going to take a look at the Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin miners for this past week. How did they do? How did they compare as far as performance is concerned? And we'll also take a look at the Bitcoin chart right now as it is, but you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice, for entertainment only. Do your own research and invest in finding coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. So let's get into the Bitcoin, see what's going on there right now on the charts. So Bitcoin right now is at 28,924. It's come down a little bit here. So it's down right now about 2.08% on the day. We reached a high of 29,850, which came obviously above our kind of wedge triangle here that we have formed in yesterday's video or the day before. And it is still staying within that. At least the major candle part of it is still in that triangle here. We did come down again. We came down quite a bit. We came down to a low of 28,394. So we definitely came down below our support line here, which is at the 28,600 mark. But we bounced off pretty close to where our bottom wedge here is at, and then we bounced off of that. So that's looking good there, but I think it was actually on the 50-day moving average that we bounced off of. Nope, 50 days right there, 20 days actually right here. So we're at the 20-day average right now on Bitcoin as it is. Okay, RSI is looking pretty good so far on the 1 hour chart, on the 1 day chart. We've come down to 51. Last time 51 was over here. We were actually a little bit lower, so we're still up in price a little bit on the 1 hour chart. 4 hour chart, the RSI has come down to 48. Last time we were back here on it at 48. Price at that point was lower. That's a good sign there as well. And then if we look at the 1 hour chart, we can see that the RSI did come down all the way down to zero, or down to 26, and then we're back up to 41 right now. And last time we were, let's see here, at 41 was possibly, let's take a look at the peak here. The peak, I mean, we're pretty close here. Price at that point was actually lower. So things are looking a little bit up right now, both on the 1 hour, 4 hour, and the daily charts. We'll see if this can continue. I'm thinking now we're going to probably trade a little bit in between this wedge here for the remainder of the couple days here that we do have. And then possibly by the time we get into Friday, Saturday of next week, we're either going to go to the upside or we're going to go down to the downside. Now, we may break across this wedge here anytime during the next 7 days, but we'll see if this actually wedge holds true, okay? So that's Bitcoin right there. Ethereum, let's take a look at that one as well. And Ethereum is down also. It's down approximately 4.59%, so pretty much almost give up all of its gains from yesterday where it was up 6.27. So it's down 4.59% to, it's right now at 1,904. We hit a low of 1,864 and a high of 2,020 on it. So we'll see how that one plays out as well. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the miners here. We're just going to get into the Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin miners for this past week, see how they did, and then we're going to get into HUT8 and cover all of that. So as always, when we look at the Bitcoin miners for the weekly performance against Bitcoin, we also look at the miners for the 52-week lows and the 52-week highs. So the green bar is how far the miners are up from their 52-week lows. The red bars are how far they are away from their 52-week highs. Okay, so we can see that Core is still up nicely here, about 809%, up from its 52-week lows. Cypher's up 478%. DigiHouse is up 458%. BitDigital has increased quite nicely here. It's up 345%. Argo is up 294. Iris 265. Riot up 255. TerraWolf up 240. Marathon up 237. Bitfarms up 208. Mawson up 152. CleanSpark up 141 along with HUT8. Hive is up 134. DMG is up 129. Bitcoin's only up 89, and then Sphere is actually below that at 84. So Sphere is the only one that's kind of lagging behind as far as leverage play on Bitcoin is concerned. But they've been having problems, obviously, getting miners installed, so that's the reason for that one. Now, looking at the 52-week highs, how far they are from that, we can see that Core is still way, way, way out there. It's still at 92% down from where it was. Cypher is only 33%. DigiHost is only 23%, so they're getting pretty close. BitDigital, possibly this week, could get above their previous 52-week high here, which is going to be kind of interesting. Then we got Argo's down 80. Iris is still down 59. Riot is down 20. TerraWolf is down 51. Marathon is down 44. Bitfarms is down 54. Mawson is down 86. CleanSpark is down only 38. HUT8 is down 49. Hive is down 57. DMG is down 38%, Bitcoin's only down 18%, and Sphere is down 69%. So that's kind of how the miners stack up right now. Now looking at the weekly performance here, let's take a look at the 1 week chart here, and we can see here that Bitcoin is up only 0.66, so I track it from Friday to Friday on the closes for that one. Just makes it easier to do these kind of videos on the weekend, so we're kind of tracking it from there to there. BitDigital is up the most here, up 19.19% so far this week, followed by CleanSpark is up 7.42%, HUT is up 5.03%, Marathon's up 4.17%, TerraWolf is up 3.37%, Bitcoin is up barely 0.66%, and then the rest of these guys have done worse than Bitcoin. DigiHost only up 0.58%, Bitfarms is pretty much flat on the week, Argo is down 0.35%, Hive is down 1.54%, DMG is down 2%, Core is down 3%, Ride is also down 3.5%, Cypher is down 4%, Sphere 3D is down 5%, Iris is down 6.75%, and Moss is down 8.57% on the 1 week. So you can see a couple of miners did better than Bitcoin, the rest did worse. If we look at the 4 week chart here, let's see how they're performing now. And there we go. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin is right there. So Bitcoin's on the 4 week is down actually 3.12%. We got Sphere is up or down 1.61%, so it's done better. CleanSpark is up 1.69%, but Digital is up 20%, and TerraWolf is up 27%. And then the rest of these guys have done worse. So we got Argo down 5%, Bitfarms down 7%, DigiHost almost 9%, DMG almost 10%, HUD is 11.75%, Marathon is 12.3%, Mawson is down 12.4%, Ride is down 14%, Iris down 17%, Core is down 19%, almost 20%, Hive is down 21%, Cypher is down 24% from 4 weeks ago. Let's take a look at the 8 weeks here really quick. And from 8 weeks ago, we got Bitcoin is up only 7.7%. So these miners did better. Mawson was up 18%, Iris up 25%, Marathon up 28%, Sphere up 29%, Bitfarms up 31%, Ride up 42%, CleanSpark up 71%, BitDigital up 85%, TerraWolf up 200%. And these have done worse. DigiHost is only up 6%, Hive is only up 4.5%, roughly. Core is up 2.1%, Hut 8 is actually flat, and then DMG is down 3%, Cypher is down 4%, Argo is down 15% from 8 weeks ago. And lastly, let's take a look at the 12 weeks. See how things stacked up here. Bitcoin is up 20.23% from 12 weeks ago. CleanSpark is up 24.26%, Marathon is up 36%, BitDigital is up 58%, Riot is up 75%, TerraWolf is up 182%. And then these did worse than Bitcoin. Cypher only up 16%, Core is up 5%, Bitfarms is up 4.5%, Mawson's up 0.7%, Iris is up down 0.53%, DigiHost is down 0.57%, Hive is down 5.34%, HUT is down 6.47%, Sphere is down 11%, along with DMG, and Argo is down 23% from 12 weeks ago. So we can see here that TerraWolf has done so far, looks like the best out of all of them here, as far as growth has been in the last 12 weeks. We can see that it's up 102% for that. Ride is up 75%, BitDigital, Marathon, CleanSpark have done the best in the last 12 weeks. So had you bought back then, you'd be doing pretty good right now with those guys. And Bitcoin's up 20%, and everybody else here has kind of lagged behind here a little bit in the last 12 weeks. Now, when we look at the actual weekly time span here on all of these, we had, it looks like, well, this past week was kind of a mixed bag. We had half that were up, half that were down. Prior week, we were pretty much in the green here. And the week after that, we were down in the red. After that, we were in the green, down. So it's kind of like flipping a little bit. But now it's kind of interesting to see that we had actually a week where we were half and half. We'll see how this coming week is going to play out as well on that one. But we are starting to see a little bit more green than we are seeing red. So that's always a good sign here, especially after the first of the year. We had plenty of green here, some red here, obviously, in towards February and into March a little bit here, and then we kind of picked back up here at the middle of March and went into April pretty good as well. So we'll see how it continues going forward. Okay, so that's it on the Bitcoin miners for the weekly performance. Let's take a look at Hut 8 merger with USBTC, and we'll take a look at this charts, or not charts, but a bunch of data that we do have here. So I copied a lot of the stuff from their S-4 presentation they provided. We'll take a look at that really quick. Just on some of the things that we do have here. So this is their investor presentation here for the strategic merger of Hut 8 and a US Bitcoin Corp together. So let's go through this. And then obviously, like I said, I took a lot of the information from the S4, which is here. You guys can find it on Hut 8's website. It's on there under the investors page. And then I'll also take a look at Bitcoin, US Bitcoin Corp, as far as what their campuses are like. And then I do have some questions for you guys. Maybe you guys can help me out where I just couldn't find the information out, or at least I couldn't find it. Okay, so let's run through this really quickly here. So transaction overview, proposed transaction, Hut 8 Mining Corp and US Data Mining Group Inc. To combine to an all-stock merger of equals transaction. So there's been obviously a lot of questions here regarding this. Let me zoom this in for you guys so maybe you guys can see this a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so here's what we got. Hut 8 and USBTC to become wholly owned subsidiary of newly incorporated Delaware corporation named Hut 8 Corp. The new Hut is what they're calling it. New Hut is expected to be listed on the NASDAQ stock market and the Toronto Stock Exchange. So that's good there. Then an exchange ratio here is you're basically going to have 0.2 shares for every Hut that you have, and then 0.67 shares of USBTC capital stock that anybody has out there. So that's how that's going to work out. We'll run through the math on that as well. Current bridge loan financing. So Hut 8 is providing them with 6 to 6.5 million in secured bridge financing subject to definitive documentation. Key approvals, obviously, the transaction by Hut and USBT shareholders, receipt of all regulatory and stock exchange approvals. And then timing, its proposed transaction is currently expected to close in Q2 of 2023, which is what we are in right now. Okay, let's go down here. So a couple interesting things. So Hut 8 has 3 mining sites. USBTC has also like 3 mining sites. They're not counting a couple here. And we'll get into that. You can see here. Let me see here. I think it was just down here. Okay, we'll look at that here in a minute. But market capitalization is they're figuring the combined market cap of 990 million based on the two, well, mostly on Hut 8's valuation that we can actually see here now. It's around 400 some odd million. Combining those two together, you're going to get around 990 million when this was actually done for it. So that's kind of how they're valuing each company being valued equally. But we'll look at the numbers here and we'll actually see if it is equal or not. Okay, but they're saying that they have currently 5.6 exahash installed self-mining capacity. We just got a release last week, I believe it was, where Hut 8 provided that USBTC is going to be actually increasing their self-mining. So combined, they're going to be like at 7.04 exahash self-mining. So that's good there. That's a nice little increase there. Total installed managed capacity under management. So 825 megawatts there. And this is kind of interesting. This is where things get a little bit confusing for me. So that includes installed infrastructure across self-mining, hosting, and managed infrastructure operations. And that's where I have a question. Managed infrastructure operations, do they actually own those, or are they just in there managing those sites? If they're in there managing those sites, you're obviously not getting that all the way through. Hosting infrastructure is 220 megawatts right now, and then 680 megawatts managed infrastructure operations. So based on that, if they're managing 680 megawatts, like I said, I don't know if those are the ones that they actually own. This might be a combination. I think this is more on the US Bitcoin side of things than it is for Hut. But that would obviously bring us down to approximately 140 megawatts, 145 megawatts of owned capacity if you take the 825 subtract the 680, right? Because I don't know if they actually have, well, like I said, I don't know if they own those sites. If they only manage them, they might be able to bring on miners of their own in there, depending on what kind of deal they have with those owners of those sites, if they're just managing those sites for those owners, okay? So that's kind of where my question comes in here. I couldn't find that out. If you guys have anything on that, let me know down in the comments below. I would appreciate it very much. Okay, so that's one of the questions that I had here, and we'll dive into that a little bit more here. A little bit of the merger here as far as the two companies are concerned. So year founded was for Hut 8 was 2018. US Bitcoin Corp was 2020. Ownership, obviously Canadian-based for Hut 8, US-based for US Bitcoin. Headquarters in Toronto for Hut, Miami, Florida. And they're going to merge those two. I think Miami is going to be the new headquarters for the new Hut Corp. Team members, 105, 108 for US Bitcoin. Infrastructure portfolio. So Hut 8 has 2 digital asset mining sites. They're not including the one in Madison Hat, I think it was, or North Bay, because they are obviously in legal proceedings with that one, so they're not including that one. 5 high-performance computing data centers, 1 micro-BT certified repair center. And then US Bitcoin Corp has 4 digital asset mining sites, 1 site fully owned. Okay, so we know that one of them is fully owned. 1 site under a 50-50 joint venture, and 2 sites managed under a property management agreement. I'm not sure. Those are the ones that I'm not 100% sure that they actually own those. I think they're just kind of managing for them, but they might have access to be able to install miners there as well, being that they are managing those as well. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind here. Business units, obviously for Hut 8 is self-mining, high-performance computing, micro-BT certified repair center. US Bitcoin Corp has self-mining, hosting, managed infrastructure operations, and equipment sales. So that's all going to get merged into one here. Okay. Next, let's take a look down here. Scale, thesis point. So what they're kind of looking to do here as far as what the reason for Hut 8 is wanting to join, or both companies wanting to join together, is for these reasons here. So USBTC's portfolio of owned and managed sites significantly accelerates Hut 8's growth trajectory, and that's kind of what Hut 8 is looking for, is growth, right? They haven't grown, well, very little here in the past year compared to their peers and some new entrants that have come into the site space as well. And then the expected impact is immediate step change in operating scale and transition to market leadership. I don't know if they're going to get into market leadership. They're still going to be behind some of the other guys that are in there, Marathon, CleanSpark, Riot, and others that are going to be growing past the 7 exahash on them. And then scope is USBTC's track record of operating rigor and execution in the U.S. enhances Hut 8's financial and strategic optionality. So they have access to U.S. markets and credibility among industry stakeholders. Okay, platform USBTC's complementary, uncorrelated new lines of business advances Hut 8's focus on sustainable growth. So this reduces exposure to self-mining economics and new complex light paths to scale. Kind of true there, but there's two ways to look at it. Self-mining is very, very profitable when things are good. It's also very, very costly or very small profit margins, if none, when we go into a bear market. But the upside is when you're mining yourself and you're going into a bull market, those revenues are significant there. The other part of it is obviously with having a diversified portfolio of revenue streams, that is going to kind of level out a little bit more for them as far as some of the other miners which are concerned that we also cover here, right? Because they do have different lines of business, but they also could be affected because of where Bitcoin goes, things like that. So they're still correlated to Bitcoin in a way, okay? Power, so USBTC's disciplined technical approach to sourcing and managing energy strengthens Hut 8's energy strategy, optimize returns through sophisticated electron arbitrage strategies. Fine, and then the IP, USBTC's purpose-built operating technology can be deployed across the site portfolio to drive site returns. So optimize returns through automation of site management and energy curtailment. So that would be good for them since USBTC has that. And then people, USBTC's experienced operating team enhances Hut 8's existing team of veteran business leaders and executives. So outstanding operating expertise driving the next chapter of Hut 8's growth, which is good here and well. Next, let's see what do we got here. Okay, the good thing about this would definitely diversify their locations, their portfolio a little bit here. So digital asset minings here, you would have Drumheller, Alberta, Medicine Hat, Alberta, Alpha would be Niagara Falls, New York. That's the one that they had an injunction on USBTC, but I believe that's got all worked out now, so that should be fine there. 4 is Charlie, Kearney, Nebraska, Delta, Granbury, Texas, and Echo King Mountain, Texas as well. Some of these are obviously also being used as managed services there, so they're not all theirs, like I said. High performance computing data centers, Vancouver. They got 1, 2 in Vancouver, Kelowna, British Columbia, Vaughan, Ontario, and Mississauga, Ontario as well. I'm sure I'm butchering these names here a little bit, so I apologize. But that's mostly on Hut 8's side of things. Okay, MicroBT certified repair centers, also Hut 8's. That's in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And then corporate offices will have Miami and Toronto, but they're going to probably be all stationed in Miami there going forward, I would think. Okay, so that's actually good, getting diversified there. And here's the sites that we do have for them. So USBTC diversifies the site portfolio across geographies and capabilities. So location, Alpha 1, or Alpha is in Niagara Falls. They have one site there that is, they didn't provide as far as what the megawatts are on it, but I believe that one's only a 50 megawatt facility there. It's self-mining, so they own it. And their self-mining is about 4 exahash right now on that one. Charlie, which is in Nebraska, number of subsites is only 1. USMIO, so this is one of those where they provide managed services on that one. They have 100 megawatts there. Don't know how much is available for them to use on it, but they are basically a 100 megawatt facility there. Self-mining is 0 at that facility there. And then we got Delta, which is in Granbury, Texas. That is a USMIO facility, so managed self-mining as well. They have 300 megawatts potential there. Like I said, don't know how much is available to them. Self-mining is about 1 exahash, and then they have King Mountain, which has 4 sites there. That's also a managed site, self-mining, and hosting facility. And for hosting, they're using 220 megawatts. So it looks like they would only have 60 megawatts potentially, but they're using 1.7 exahash for self-mining at that facility as well. Okay, so that's kind of the lay of the land as it is right now for them. My big question is how much do they actually have available to use towards their own growth as far as self-mining is concerned. That's the big question that I have here. Okay, next, HUD 8 and USBTC are strategically aligned. We're not going to get into that. They're both aligned fine. Advanced diversified strategy and operating rigor. You guys can read over this. There's not much here going on. Some more charts. Energy strategy and commitment to ESG. You guys can read that. And then the actual intellectual property, optimizing stock returns with advanced technology. This is from USBTC. And this would be actually really good and I think beneficial to HUD 8 there. So there are some things that USBTC is bringing into the table that are going to be beneficial to HUD 8 as well. Okay. And then here's the management makeup as it is. And that's it for that one. Okay. So let's take a look at the numbers that I do have for them that they provided on the S-4. There's a lot of stuff on the S-4. It would take me probably a good week to read through it all. So I spent a couple hours today going through it. I wanted to get into just the financials parts of it and take a look at how much Bitcoin they produced in the last year, things like that, and their sites, and see if we can find anything that will lead us to believe that this is a merger of equals. Okay, so we're using Q3 for HUD 8, and we're also using Q3 from USBTC. Both of these are on unaudited numbers for them. So you guys are aware, and these are all in USD. So HUD 8 currently has about, and you guys can look over here as far as what they have. We'll go over some of the major ones. Cash and cash equivalents is about 24 million. USBTC has about 21 million on there, so about a 3 million difference here to the advantage of HUD 8. Digital assets is another big one here. 125 million at that time for HUD 8 is now valued probably more for them. If we look at HUD 8, what is their current value on the BTC they have? 262 million is what they currently have, right? So that definitely doesn't make me think that that is a merger of equals based on that alone. A lot more cash here than what they got. So total current assets at the end of Q3 was 156 million for HUD 8, 37 million only for USBTC on that one. Now, if we look at other non-current assets, property and equipment is pretty close to each other. HUD has 146 million, USBTC 137 million. Deposit on miners, HUD 8 had a little bit less, 33 million compared to USBTC had 68 million, so that they're getting more miners. Other deposits, HUD had more here on this side, 21 million compared to 6 for USBTC. Intangible assets and goodwill was 9.6, and USBTC didn't have anything there. So total non-current assets was 211 million for HUD 8, 213, so a little bit more for USBTC on the non-current asset parts of things. But when we look at the total assets, you can see here that total assets for HUD 8 was 367 million compared to 251. That's a difference of 116 million right there on it. Now add in the value of Bitcoin going up here in the last couple of months, 6 months, I guess you could say. And you can see that now it's more a difference of, well, if they got 262 million, we're counting only 100, what are we counting here, 125. You can add another 120 million to that, so 236 million roughly in favor of HUD 8 right now, right? So right now it's not looking like they're valued equally. Now when we look at the liabilities here, big things, I mean, a lot of these are pretty close to each other within a couple million, so that's not a big deal there. Lease current portion. Here's the big ones here. So notes payable current portion, USBTC has 105 million. And then subscription received in advance, they got 10 million there. So for total current liabilities, USBTC has 126 million, whereas HUD 8 has only 20 million in current liabilities. Big difference there. And that should have been, let's see, what is that difference between the two? So HUD 8 has 106 million less in debt than what USBTC has, okay? Going down here to non-current liabilities, big ones here for HUD 8 is the lease liability, less current portion, 12.6 million compared to 1 million there. And then long-term debt, they have 12.7 million compared to USBTC, which has 0 there. So total current liabilities for HUD 8 is 25.4 million, whereas USBTC is 35.3 million. And that's basically because they got 30 million here, notes payable, last current portion. So total liabilities is 45.6 million for HUD 8 and 161 million for USBTC. So that gets us to 115 million difference between the two right there. All right. So again, not a merger of equals, at least based on these standards here. Total stockholder equity, we can see here that Hut 8 has 321 million, whereas USBTC has only 89, almost 90 million. That's a difference of 232 million there. Total liabilities and stockholder equity, it's a little bit closer, but still, we're probably looking at closer to 240 million based on USBTC going up in value and their HODL position being valued more. But Hut 8 is 367 million compared to 251 million for USBTC. And then when we look at the revenues here, it gets a little bit more interesting, and there's a caveat here as well that we need to discuss. So when they reported this in Q3 numbers, the revenue for for Hut 8 was 24 million USD. USBTC was 33 million, but 13 of that million was actually, and let's take a look at this more. So this was actually explained here a little bit. So USBTC began hosting in March 2022. As of September 30th, 2022, USBTC hosts approximately 425 machines for customers approximately 0.04 exahash. Hosting services revenue was 13.6 million for the 3 months ended September 30th, compared to zero during the same period in the prior year. Hosting services revenue was 5.6 million for the fiscal year ended June 30th, compared to zero. Okay. And then here's the details of it. So one of the USBTC's hosting clients defaulted on its contract, and during the 3 months ended September 30th, 2022, which resulted in termination of the contract without an obligation to refund. And USBTC recognized the remaining deferred revenue of 13.1 million with respect to such client. So that's why that's being reported there. Otherwise, they're basically mining a couple 100,000, maybe a couple 100,000 from hosting right now, with being only at 0.04 exahash, probably maybe tens of thousands based on that. So that's kind of skewing things a little bit here for their revenues. Take that out, and then we're basically at, what are we at here? If we take that out, we're only at 19,963,000 as it is right now. Okay, so that's kind of closer to what the revenues we're seeing from Hut 8. A little bit less on that one. So again, Hut 8 would come out on top on this one. Okay, then looking down here as far as costs are associated, we can see that the costs are a little bit less for Hut 8, 15.3 compared to 18. Depreciation definitely took a big dip on depreciation here for Hut 8, 20 million compared to 5 million for USBTC. General and administrative also, they're paying a heck of a lot more here. Hut 8 is then USBTC, 8.5 million compared to 5.8, 3 million roughly in difference between the two there. Impairment of cryptocurrencies was pretty close, about $500,000 in difference. Realized gain on sale was negative 1.5 million here for USBTC. So total costs and expenses was 45.8 million for Hut 8, only 29.7, so definitely better margins here, but that might obviously come down even more without having that customer there that they're mining for. So that's a difference of 16 million for USBTC. So that's actually one advantage there for USBTC. Okay. Next, if we look at it here on this one, gross profit percentage was 11.25% for actually USBTC. So they were actually profitable if you just look at those numbers compared to Hut 8, which was, I don't think it was a negative. Operating income loss, well, 21, yeah, probably 90% from what they actually, so they didn't actually have a profit there. And then gross profit minus depreciation was negative 6.4% for Hut 8, where it was 39.68 for USBTC. So a little bit better operations there. On those things. Other expenses, we can see here that pretty close in line. We had interest expense of 1.4 for Hut 8, 4 million for USBTC, and total other exchange. Okay, so that's combining those two. So total operating expense was 23.8 million for US, right? Yeah, 23.8 million for Hut 8, and then loss income before income tax expenses was negative 23 million for Hut 8, only 245 thousand negative for USBTC. Okay. Net income before tax, you can see it down here. And then as far as shares, at that time, Hut 8 had about 184 million diluted basic as well. And USBTC had 39 million private shares, I guess you could say, on that one. Big difference in loss here, okay? So based on these numbers here, I mean, I don't see how this is mergers of equals, right? I mean, you can see all the differences here where Hut 8 is valued more, has more assets, less debt and everything else. So how are they valuing them as far as mergers of equals? We have to get into some other data here. Here's some other data that we do have, which is BTC mined in 2022. We can see that Hut 8 mined about 3,568 in 2022, whereas USBTC only mined 2,373, not far behind them. So that was kind of surprising to see that only a 50% difference between the two here, it looks like. And then we have the sites here that I could find in, I think I found it in one of the S-4 pages, on page 142, I believe it was, somewhere in there. But it actually listed what they have on here. So they got the one site that they own, which is the Alpha site, Niagara Falls, New York. That's a 50 megawatts facility. And they got the 50% King Mountain joint venture, which is Echo site, Upton County, Texas. So they have 280 megawatts there, but if it's 50%, I'm guessing they only have maybe access to 140 megawatts of that. And then site operator, this is the ones where they have the managed sites. These are the Nebraska sites and the two Texas sites. And the two Texas sites is actually the one that's up here. That's a joint venture. So I'm not including it here. So they do have these getting to 730, but are they actually able to utilize all that? That's the question I have there. Okay. Other thing that I wanted to point out here is this was on page, I don't know if I have the page numbers on here, but this was like on page 140 something, 130 something. They went through and had a outside firm, Duff and Phelps. They performed a discounted cash flow analysis of Hut 8 by calculating the estimated net present value of the projected unlevered free cash flow of Hut 8. For purpose of this analysis, Duff and Phelps took into account the management projections, Hut 8, which were approved for use in Duff-Phelps analysis by Hut 8. In addition, for purposes of this analysis, Duff and Phelps applied a range of terminal value multiples of 85x to 95x to Hut 8's terminal year hash rate and discount rates ranging from 20% to 25%. The discounted cash flow analysis indicated an implied aggregate enterprise value reference range for Hut 8 of approximately 212 million to 273 million. And then they did the same thing for USBTC here. They applied 85x to 95x, 20% discount rate to 25. But with respect to USBTC's non-mining operations, Duff and Phelps applied a perpetuity growth rate of 3% for purpose of calculating terminal value and discounting rates ranging from 18% to 22%. The discounted cash flow analysis indicated an implied aggregate enterprise value reference range of approximately 242 to 302 million. So they're giving the USBTC a higher value than they are for Hut 8 on this one. For USBTC's mining operations, 227 to 282 million. And for USBTC's non-mining operations, and 469 million to 584 for USBTC. So, right, trying to figure out how they came up with those numbers there for it. Selected public analysis, also they did an analysis on this. So Duff and Phelps reviewed certain financial data for selected companies with publicly traded equity securities. The Duff and Phelps deemed relevant share price used in the selected public companies analysis were based on the closing price of the common stock on the selected companies listed below as of February 2nd, 2023. And the current hash rate for the selected companies listed below were based on the hash rates most recently reported publicly by such companies. The selected companies and corresponding financial data were. So they used Argo blockchain. They gave Argo an 88x, so enterprise value divided by hash rate in exahash per second. 88x, BitDigital 28.5x, Bitfarm 64.5x, Cypher 98.9x, CleanSpark 39.9, Coinbase doesn't mine. DMG blockchain 37.1, Hive was at 153.4x, Iris Energy 64, Marathon 147.9. Northern Data was 36.8. Riot Platforms was 90.6 at that time. The mean was 77.3. The median was 64.8. So Hut 8, here's how they applied that to Hut 8. Taking into account the results of the selected company's analysis, DMP applied a selected range of 65x to only 85x to Hut 8's current hash rate. The selected company's analysis indicated an implied aggregate enterprise value referencing range for Hut 8 of approximately 212 million to 277 million. Okay, now taking a look at USBTC. Taking into account the results of selected companies' analysis, DMP applied a selected range of 70 to 90. Why are they using a 70 to 90? That's one question that I have there. To the current hash rate of USBTC's mining operations, which they were pretty close to where Hut 8 was. So I'm surprised that they're giving them a higher multiple here. The selected company's analysis indicated an implied aggregate enterprise value reference range of USBTC mining operations of approximately 257 million to 330 million, right? Higher than it is for Hut 8. Adding that the implied value reference range for USBTC's non-mining operations indicated by the discounted cash flow analysis of USBTC non-mining operations resulted in an applied aggregate enterprise value reference range for USBTCs of approximately $484 to $612 million. Okay? Kind of strange there that the way that's going on there. You got all these other values that they took a look at. The new Hut is going to be somewhere between 747 million to 940 million. But yeah, I'm just a little surprised that they're using higher multiples here for USBTC. It's like they're trying to, I don't know if this is the case. I can't say that it's the case. I'm just thinking out loud here, and what I was thinking when I was reading this is it's like they're trying to bump up the value of USBTC more on the value, on the, I guess, enterprise value side of things than on the books side of things, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's still a little weird to me. I can see why things are working out the way they are. The other thing is, the only thing I could see that's a benefit for Hut 8 to get into with Hut USBTC is the potential to get to possibly, I don't know if they're going to have access to this 730 megawatts, but that is definitely an enticing thing compared to that they only have 109 right now. Right? If you get USBTC on board, merge with them, and then if you have access to 730, even if you have access to 390, that's almost a 4x as far as what you're able to get right now. And they'd be getting that for roughly, what, 400 million or so? So I don't know if that would be a better choice to go with the merger, or would it be better to actually buy facilities or build out facilities, buy miners, if you could do that, adding another, what is that, another 300 megawatts. We'd have to do the calculations on that one as well. But I just don't have the data as far as what transformers cost, all those other things that go into it, the buildings and everything else. That would be another question that to ask. Okay? But based on all of this, the only thing, like I said, is the potential for the increased megawatts that USBTC brings into them. Other than that, based on the data that we do have for Q3, it's just really lopsided, where Hut 8 is valued way more, I think, or should be valued way more than what USBTC is. But then when you look at the actual analysis that they're doing here by Duff and Phelps, it's like they're trying to pump up the value on the other side of things as far as using metrics and multiples and things like that, discounted cash flow analysis. So just wanted to point that out to you guys so you guys can take a look at it all. But this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. And right now, I still don't see how they are valued equally. Like I said, the only thing I can think of would be the megawatts that USBTC has available to them potentially. Okay, even if it's, like I said, even if it's 390 megawatts, that's still a lot better than what Hut 8 currently has. And it does give them opportunity to grow from there. Plus, they're currently at 2.5, something like that, I believe Hut 8 is. They have the potential, once they merge, they'll be at 7 exahash, I believe, for self-mining at that point. So that's a nice increase there as well. So maybe they do have a little bit more hash rate than Hut 8 does for self-mining right now. But that is based on the simple fact that one facility is down for Hut 8 right now. And we saw that drop in hash rate here in December. So they were at 3.2. If they're getting to 7, that means roughly 3.8 is being brought in by USBTC Corp. So that's what we have right now. But even if they have that much more, I still don't see how this is a merger of equals, mainly because they got so much cash. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think of this. Are you guys going to be voting for it? Are you not going to be voting for this merger? I don't have any Hut 8 shares, so I don't have any consequence in this at all. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of what's going on here, and you guys can make an informed decision. As always, you got to do your own research. You got to look into the S-4 documents. There's a lot in there, and that's mind-bending and mind-boggling of all the data that's in there. So I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a merger analyst, a merger guy, or anything like that. I'm just kind of going through the data, looking at things, seeing how I see things, and let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Okay, but that's it. So that's all I got for you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Spreadsheets will be available to the Patreon members, and I'll see if I can provide that also to the YouTube members as well. But other than that, everything else is going to be uploaded later on today to Patreon members. And that's it. Like I said, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then.